Well, hello there, Rip City. If you can hear me over the beautiful tones of Alice Cooper, school's out. It's a fun song to play back when I was in the marching band, by the way. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Quite a bit. But welcome back to game day here. Chris Burkhardt back with you, having some fun. Gonna enjoy this. Getting ready for Blazers Raptors tonight. Blazers looking to get back to their winning ways after taking a couple L's on the road and then taking an L against the Knicks. A very that's how you can describe it. Just doesn't even have a word for it. Just a sound. As the Blazers were in position, they get to overtime. Things look good, and then of course, Mikal Bridges happens.
The Blazers will come out with Sharp, Murray, Avdia, Henderson, and Klingon. Bridges, Towns, Hart, McBride, Anunoby for the Knicks. 3.4 to play. 40 lead changes. Let's keep it that way. Bridges will get it in from the far side. To Hart. Back to Bridges. He's open. Straightaway three for the win is good. And the Knicks have won it. Mikal Bridges hits the game-winning three at the horn. And the Knicks beat the Blazers 114-113.
That's what happened there. Mikal Bridges from the top of the key, boom, strikes it, game over. And it was just one of those things that you just don't, you just don't got words for it. It's just deflating. It's just deflating. The Blazers play their tails off. They get opportunities late. Denny Avdia gets to the line. Things are looking good, right? You know, the Can't See Me. You got John Cena's theme playing through the arena because Denny is going on a tear. It gets you in the game, and you're like, you know what? We're about to take one from the Knicks. And then the Knicks take it right back again. Final score, 114-113. No more points bigger than that final three by Mikal Bridges. But this was a game that is as bad as the final result was, right? It was an incredible performance from your Trailblazers, and another game that you can look at and get very, very excited about for the future when you see the fact that this game was led by what? The youth. The young guys took this game over. Denny Avdia was huge. Shaedon Sharpe was huge. Scoot Henderson had one of his most impressive offensive performances of his career. He finished with 30 points, 10 of 16 from the floor, got to the line 10 times. He was also 4 of 4 from beyond the arc. So when you look at a game like this and go, you almost knocked off the Knicks, who are one of the best teams in the East right now, and you did it on the backs of your young guys. That's where you get very excited for the things to come. I mean, New York is currently the third best team in the Eastern Conference, so it's not like a slouch walked into Portland and Portland took them to overtime. No, this is a good Knicks team. And you know what? They just got the W on that day. Now, if you're the Blazers, now you got to try to take advantage of some of the games that are coming up on your schedule. Obviously, your next two are pretty good if you're a Trailblazers fan, right? You got tonight against Toronto, and then, of course, tomorrow night, the game that was originally scheduled for Tuesday but got moved to Monday because of the fires in L.A. and all the scheduling that the NBA had to do to accommodate remaking some of those games up. So you got two games right now against teams who are not great when it comes to the standings, right? You are probably in the race for, at least when you look at a team like Washington, like, okay, how are we going to finish in the final standings when it comes to capturing the flag, if that's still a thing, right? You got Toronto and you got Washington, who are down there. Toronto 11th in the East right now at 24-23, and then you got Washington 15-51. Yikers. They are sitting there right with the Jazz for the worst records in the NBA. So now Portland has winnable games, and we'll see where that takes you. Portland currently sitting at 28-39, just a half game back of the Spurs, who are in the 12th spot, and mathematically still a chance, but as I kind of talked about with you guys the other day, I really think Dallas holds on to that 10th spot, especially with that gauntlet of a schedule that the Suns have coming up. But again, looking back at that game against New York, it's one of those games, like, I don't know if you can really look at it and find a whole lot of bad. You can find a whole lot of good, though. Portland was great on the glass. They out-rebounded the Knicks 52-38. The bad, if you wanted to find some, was the assist numbers. Portland only had 20 assists. You would love to see that number get higher, but again, they did only have 40 field goals, so 50% of their shots came off an assist. The 23 turnovers, not great, not a good recipe to win a game, especially against a team like New York, but every single Tom Thibodeau team has always made their mark on the defensive side of the ball, right? And that's what they did in this one, forcing those turnovers and giving them the chance. And then when you got guys like OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, who had some big shots in this one, and Mikal Bridges, leave those guys open, they hit shots. And, you see the result as it was in that game. So a tough loss for the Blazers, but, man, I think you hang your hat on that and go, that was the type of performance that futures can be made of, that you can sit there and look at what your future is of your team and go, I like where this team is heading. I like the youth. I like everything here. Like, as Kirk says in the YouTube chat, Scoot was the man. I love it. And he was. He was absolutely phenomenal in that game, and that was one of those games that you can sit there and was that the coming out party? Was that the game that Scoot becomes the man that you want to be? And I think what's most impressive about that game is not the box score, it's the aura with which he played with, right? You saw the Scoot with the confidence and not thinking about what he was doing, just going out there and hooping, man. And then you get the result that you got. Not talking about the wins or loss, the result of an absolute incredible top to bottom, front to back Blazer game, where they did everything they needed to do, played one hell of a basketball game. And again, I think the biggest thing from this game that you look at isn't the win or loss. I've said that to you guys all year. You know that. It's not about the wins or losses to me this year. It's about how the team looks when they play. And how many times have we seen the rollovers, the Memphis, the Utah, the Golden State games? But then you get a game like this. You take the L, sure. But boy, howdy, did you kind of make a statement. And as a lot of people mentioned, Travis mentioned it in the post-game show, not only does Scoot go out there and have a great game, games that, guys like Kirk love, and Kirk wasn't the only one who loved that performance. Everyone was talking about Scoot. But not only does he go and have that game, he does it against the Knicks, and that's a good thing. Why? It's New York, man. All eyes are on you all the time when you're the New York Knicks. People are watching. You had the millions of fans in New York who are sitting there watching their Knicks roll into the Moda Center and like, yeah, they're going to get an easy win against that young Blazer team. That Blazer team's terrible. And they watch Scoot put on a show. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I love the fact that Scoot was out there. I love the fact that he put on. I love the fact that, the moment wasn't too big. I love the fact that he was chirping. I love the fact that he was in his bag. I think all things considered, now you can look at it and, yeah, he didn't have the 9 assists, 10 assists, what have you. I still think you can look at that game and think all the way around, that was probably the best Scoot Henderson game we've seen. And hopefully he can do that again tonight against Toronto, have that chance. And if you have another night where it's Tumani and Shea and Denny and Scoot just going off, throw Donovan Clingan in there for good measure, things are good. Now we'll see if we see Matisse Thybulle tonight. Yeah, he was dressed for that game against Toronto. He didn't get in, but we'll see if we see him tonight. I'm kind of excited for that. Like I'm at the point where I want to see Matisse Thybulle get on the court. I don't know what his future is, if his future is here in Portland or elsewhere or whatnot, but I do think that if you pair his defense with guys like Tumani and Denny and get them rolling, you might have some fun lineups out there, right? They might not be the most offensively talented, but they're going to be fun. Now, taking a quick look at the injury report, since we were talking about Matisse, it is nice to see his name not on it anymore. He is not on that injury report, but of course DeAndre Ayton is still out with that left calf strain. Ryan Rupert is out. He's in the G League on assignment. Jabari Walker is in concussion protocol. He will be out tonight against Toronto. As of our last updates, Jeremy Grant is doubtful, dealing with right knee tendonitis. Anthony Simons and Robert Williams both questionable. And of course, questionable means will he play? Yeah, it's a good question. Odds are Ant will play. Maybe he's restricted just a little bit. So, again, more opportunity, ample opportunity for our guy Scoot to go in there and have a pretty darn good game. All right, this is Blazers Game Day presented by Coors Light. If you want to join the conversation with us, youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat there. You can also follow me on social media at Chris J. Burkhardt. And be sure to be following our insider Sean Hyken at Hyken as well as all of our socials, Grip City Radio 620. We're going to take a quick little break, though. When we come back, we're going to head down to the press conference room, hear what Coach Billups has to say ahead of this game. It's the Coach's Corner coming up next on your home of the Trailblazers, Grip City Radio 620. As soon as Coach does get to the podium, Michael Schecker will do his job. He'll pull that audio up. We'll hear him, get some updates on the roster tonight, see if there's any update on Matisse Thybulle, as we were talking about. Eager to see him play. Really want to get the chance to get him back on the floor. It's been a year since we have seen Matisse Thybulle in uniform on the court, and that's just too long. I like Matisse, and he's a good piece. He's a good young player, brings it defensively. Gosh, even if it's only, the last 15 games that you ever see Matisse in a Trailblazer uniform, if you have opportunity to see him on the floor with Tumani Kamara at the same time, just going ham on defense, sign me up. Sign me up. I want to see it. I want to see it. It's going to be pretty good. So we'll get an update on him, hopefully, and then see how the rest of the lineups are shaking out. As you said, last we checked, Anthony Simons was questionable. We'll get an update on that, though, hopefully before the show is done. This is Blazers Game Day, presented by Coors Light. If you want to jump in on the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And, of course, you can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat there. And while we're waiting for Chauncey, too, man, it's been a heck of a week for basketball fans. Saw a couple of you listeners down there at Chiles Center watching the championship basketball matchups. Tualatin takes down Jazzy Davidson and Clackamas, which was an incredible game. Barlow wins their first state championship in basketball history. Coach TJ, 700 wins, finally got the win that was eluding him, the state championship. That place was packed. They were playing Jesuit, so it was packed, green and gold and blue and yellow. Oh my gosh, it was such a great atmosphere down there at Chiles Center yesterday. And kudos to everyone who played. And of course, we had championships going on at Forest Grove and Linfield as well. LaSalle Prep winning in 5A. Crater takes the girls championship. Look at that. Staten and Baker 4A champions. Pretty good performances all the way around. You love to see it. So that's your quick rundown on OSAA state championships. We can get more into that in a little bit. We're just waiting on Coach to head to the podium right now. He's always, you know how it works. Coach availability at 15. There he is. See? There he is. Let's hear what he has to say.
We'll go behind closed doors. He's going to hear it. He's going to hear it. It's my dog right there, but we got some talking to do.
Who do you have today?
I don't know yet. Ant is going out to see how it feels. No Jeremy. I do know that. And no Rob. So maybe Ant.
And it's if Ant can't go, Scoot gonna start.
Yeah.
Chauncey, in your 4 years, you've talked about like the identity you want your team to have of like, defensive-minded, just go get it type guys. Is this the longest sustained stretch where you feel like you're getting that you're seeing that identity from a team that you've had?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's definitely the longest stretch. I think guys have kind of dialed into it, and they feel good about it actually. No matter who's playing, who's out there. Our biggest thing is we just want you to earn everything that you get, and we've done a pretty good job of it, and then you start looking and saying, well, what are the next steps? You got to learn from so many of the mistakes that we make as a young team, and find ways to get over the hump, But, yeah, I think that's fair to be able to say that this has been the longest stretch that we've been able to sustain just playing that way,
You've had, the guys you guys have brought in your tenure who you thought were going to help establish that identity. Hart, Peyton, Justice was here, but has it mostly been health that you haven't been able to get that?
Yeah, I think so. Because those guys that you mentioned are those type of guys. By and large, they went on to do that on other teams. So we had the right dudes. It just wasn't the right time. But those are the type of dudes that I feel like you build a team with. Whether they become your main guys or just ancillary pieces that help every single night, it's really, really important to have that, in today's game. If you can play as hard as you can and make people earn it, you will have some success. I think that's how Toronto is playing right now. We're like a carbon copy, of the team we're playing against today. But when you play that hard, you make people earn it, you have success.
Chauncey, how would you describe Abdia's contributions to the team?
One, I mean, Denny's been excellent. We're still learning so much more about him. I think he's learning more about him and what he's able to do. You know, we've let him have a lot more responsibility with the ball, and he keeps proving, you know, to get better and better at it. You know, he's like a one-man fast break when he gets the ball. I didn't. Some of these things I didn't even know about him when we got him. You know, because we only played him twice a year, so I didn't know that much. But he's been a pleasant surprise. The fire that he plays with, I think, takes our team to another level. The edge that he plays with, the toughness that he plays with, we need it. You know, I think any coach will sit up here and tell you that having more people that can get to the basket, to the paint, is an advantage. You know, because most defenses break down, and then you just start playing the right way. That's been him, you know, the entire time. So he's done an incredible job, man, and I think his other levels that he still will get to.
What have you seen from Shaden Sharp's development this season?
Yeah, Shaden, I'm happy where Shaden is at right now. I'm very happy, actually, where Shaden is at. It was a little up and down early, you know, which is per usual for young players. But he's as talented as anybody, you know, in the league, to be honest with you. You know, I've been on him. I coach him very hard. I really do, because I just believe that he has so much there. So I'm on him on both sides of the basketball. I think he can pretty much score 20 at any time he wants, and he can do it very easily, you know. But I want him to stop the other guy from scoring 20 on him, you know, and I'm hard on him about that. And I think his alertness and his readiness now defensively is probably as good as it's been in a long time. And we got to keep him there, you know. But, yeah, I think he's done a really good job of continuing to develop. He's been much better this year. One step that he's taken is just his playmaking and pick and rolls. He's a really good passer. So trying to put him in more of those situations where he sees different coverages, and he's going to have to get better at that as well. So I've been happy with his development.
Chelsea, do you think you can, are you confident that you can get Tease out there now that you've seen him practice?
Yeah, I think, you know, Tease looked good the last couple of days of practice. It was good to see him with the team and run him through our stuff, you know, the plays and the defensive coverages and schemes, and because it's just not just being healthy. You know, now you got to be in the mindset of what we do. You know, for a guy that hadn't played all year, not even preseason, that's not easy. But he looked good. He sounds good when I talk to him. So, yeah, I'm sure if not today, tomorrow, but hopefully both games. Good. Hey, man. You're looking good, man. You look better.
And there you hear Coach Billups, and he was asked there about Matisse Thybulle, and he said, you know, he's been looking good at practice, and, you know, hopefully he can get him on the court today. If not tomorrow, hopefully both games. So it'd be nice to see Matisse. Matisse has been someone I think a lot of fans liked when he came here from Philadelphia, knew he was a great defender. He put that on display. And then he's had, obviously, the injuries have hurt him a little bit. He has not played in a year. We have not seen him on the court in a year. So if he hits the court tonight, hopefully we get some nice ovations for him, and hopefully he has an impact on the game. It'd be great to see him both games. And again, you got 12 games left in the season, and see what you got. See what you got. I don't necessarily think that there is, you know, no future for Matisse Thybulle in Portland. We'll see how that goes. I mean, you got contracts and player options and all that stuff, and that is down the road. But I do think that if you like Matisse and you think he can be the Matisse that you got when you got him from Philly, that he's a great piece to have with Toumani Camara and Denny Avdia. And keep in mind, Matisse Thybulle was used to being that bench guy, right? So it's not as if you're taking a starter and just, okay, go play your bench minutes guy and do your thing. No, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So that's the type of depth you want. He's an affordable player. And it's that defensive mindset that I think a lot of teams covet. So we'll see where the future is with him. But regardless, it's going to be nice to at least see him get a couple more Blazer games under his belt, end the season strong. I'm excited to see Matisse Thybulle. In fact, I think we'll hear from Matisse Thybulle here before the end of the show. He was able to talk to the media yesterday. But we will take a quick little break first. When we come back, it's time for our Coors Cold Hard Facts. We still got our keys to the game to get to. It's Blazers versus Raptors tonight. Tip-off at 3 p.m. All right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. And shout out to a couple of our listeners who made it out to Child Center. Air Weldon, who's been always chiming in on YouTube, he was out at Child Center for the state championship games, came and said hi. It's always cool when you guys come say hi and talk shop with me a little bit. Scoot Henderson was in the house as well for that girls 6A state championship game, so it was pretty cool to have Scoot watching. If you were there for the Barlow game, you would have noticed that Barlow legend with a capital L, as well as Oregon Duck legend Fred Jones was in the house. So some big names came down to Child Center, which is pretty awesome to see. And you know what? Some big names might be hitting the court for the Trailblazers soon. What do I mean? I'll tell you right now. It's time for our Coors Cold Hard Facts. Well, the star that could be hitting the court for the Trailblazers soon is none other than Matisse Thybulle. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Coach said, he'd like to get him in the game tonight, if not tomorrow, hopefully both games. Coach slow playing a little bit. I mean, got to remember Matisse did just get to like 3-and-3 contact, then got to full 5-on-5 full court stuff. Did that quick little stint with the G League. People were wondering about that, and because they're like, that didn't make sense because they sent out the release that they had sent him down to the G League in the morning, and then that afternoon they said they had recalled him, and people were like, oh, that's weird. No, it just Casey Holdall summed up perfectly in his tweet. He goes, guys, that just means practice ended, because what it was Portland had the one game down in Golden State, right? So we're going to go down for a game rather than have him travel with us since he's getting close to return to action. We're going to send him to G League so he can get one more quick practice in before we get home. That's what that was. And by all accounts, he's ready to go. And I love Matisse Thybulle, man. And I know we can talk all day long about where his future is and all that, but right now he's a Trailblazer, and at the very minimum has the next 12 games to end his tenure or solidify, that he wants to return and the team wants him. But regardless, when you're rooting for good people and good guys, it's just good to see Matisse Thybulle get a chance to get back on the court. The injuries, they suck. No one likes to be sitting out watching their team play. They want to be on the court. And I'm excited. I think it's cool that Matisse is going to have a chance, and I really, really sincerely hope we see him tonight against Toronto. Again, if not, see him tomorrow. If we don't see him tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to riot, okay? I want to see Matisse Thybulle out there. Let's have some fun. But let's take a chance, though, to hear from Matisse, because guess what? When you're on the injury report, you're not playing a ton. You don't get to talk to the media a lot. But when you return to the roster and things are looking up for your return, the media does want to talk to you. And Matisse did talk to the media at practice just a few days ago.
So, Matisse, how are you feeling? It's been a while since we talked to you. How are you feeling in general? Not even just injury-wise, just life-wise.
Life is good. Yeah, weather's been weird. Yeah. Body's strong, which has been honestly the most exciting thing. It is so frustrating to not be able to just do what you know you're capable of. So for me, that's probably the most exciting thing, is just be able to be back to doing just using my body the way I'm used to. Being able to call on it to do the things that I've always known I can do. So that's been nice. And then obviously, being a basketball player again is great. It's been tough to be a basketball player that can't play basketball.
Has it really been tough to not be able to go out there and play with the guys? And what are you trying to do to try and help yourself mentally in those situations?
Yeah, it's been so long, the relationship to that's actually changed over the process. At first, yeah, it's really frustrating. I'm angsty and upset and wanting to find ways to just get back out there. But once realizing the severity of the injury, I had to accept that it's gonna take time. And then the relationship then just became that of doing my rehab and showing up every day and being excited about the little steps that I was making towards getting back to where I am now. So it's been a bit of a journey, and yeah, not one I've known before.
What was the severity of the injury? Was it just a really bad ankle sprain? Is that all it was, or what was?
Yeah. Grade 2, right? Yeah, it was grade 2-3. So leaning more towards 3. So, I've talked to so many people about it now, and the overarching sentiment is with ankle sprains this bad, sometimes it's better just to break it than to sprain it, because the recovery time with all the ligaments that were torn just takes so long, and with a bone it can just heal back up and it's just as strong. Yeah, it was whole process. And then to like have it happen in conjunction with a different injury, just like to start with a knee, then do the ankle as bad as I did, and then have those then like be married as like one giant injury trying to be dealt with. Made it quite the process.
And it happened going to the basket, right, in practice? Is that?
Yeah, it was like I was a couple days away from being back in the rotation, and we were just playing 2-on-2, and like no contact. I just stepped too far out of my body and rolled over it, heard a nice little pop, and.
So you didn't come down, you stepped.
Stepped, yeah.
You talked about it media day, how much fun playing defense is. Just what is it going to be like to get that source of fun back in your life after this much time out?
I think the beginning's going to be a little frustrating, just having to like feel it out again, because I got to get a feel for the guys, they got to get a feel for me again, and playing defense is like very much a group effort, and so I think there'll be a bit of a learning curve, but I know that my instincts will take over, and like there's a way that I'm used to playing, that my body and my mind likes to do it, and once I can get into that state more easily, I think that's when the fun will really start.
What have you been seeing from the defense this year, particularly with the forward combo of Denny and Tumani?
Our development coach always says positional size. Like he's always harping on that, and Denny and Tumani have that like across the board, not only height-wise but just strength-wise. And the fact that you can put Tumani on a point guard and Denny on a center, and have extreme efficiency and just like their ability to stop players from doing what they want to do has been, like I think kind of like a secret weapon for us. Because teams have been wanting to play small, especially with DC being at the rim and like the problem that he's caused for them. And it's no problem. Like teams go small, it's like we still have an elite defensive lineup that can go out there.
And there you hear from Matisse, and let me tell you what, man, like, isn't it nice to just hear from him? And you can hear it in his voice, and that's a guy who wants to get out on the court. I love what he was saying there at the end about Tumani and Denny Avdia, positional size and their versatility, because he has it too, which is why I'm so intrigued by getting him back on the court, because he's that same guy. Like he talked about, you can put Denny on a center. Well, you can put Matisse on a power forward. Like he plays big on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm excited for him. And again, like he said, the thing you don't think about, like what's going to be, like there's going to be frustrations, because you go from being in a groove and knowing what you have and knowing your body and all this to getting hurt, missing a year of action, and now you got to go in there and you got to feel this entire process out again. And I know even when you're good at what you do, even when what you do is something you do every single day, if you missed it for a year, there would be a little bit of a curb before you got to take the training wheels back off, right? Like, here's the deal. Like, if you took the fifth quarter away from me and I'm not hosting it again until March 16th of 2026, yeah, if you don't have a headset on for that year, you're going to put it back on, and everyone's going to, just like riding a bike, right? But there's going to be a feeling out process of getting back into the groove, and that's just for something like hosting radio, right? So what is the feeling of getting back in that groove when you're getting on the court with the top 1% of the 1% of basketball players in the entire world, right? And getting back up to full game speed and full game contact and things that cannot be replicated at practice. So yeah, there's absolutely going to be a little bit of a feeling out process for Matisse, and just hopefully Portland gets to see him do it tonight and tomorrow, because again, I want to see Matisse Thybulle get back on the court just like everybody else. If you want to join in on the conversation with us, 503-248-0620 is one way to do it. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat there as well. We're going to take a quick little break here on game day. When we come back, it's time for our keys to the game. What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory over the Toronto Raptors tonight in Game 2 of their nice, long homestand? This is Blazers Game Day, presented by Coors Light, on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Here with you, getting you ready for Blazers versus Raptors tonight here at the Moda Center as the Blazers continue their nice long homestand. Now, it started with an overtime loss to the Knicks, 114 to 113 on Wednesday. Blazers did have this nice little break. You don't get little breaks like this in the season very often where they play on a Wednesday and then get 3 days off before they hit the court again like they do tonight against the Raptors, but they still got plenty of games here. They're going to come fast at you. Got tonight against the Raptors, Monday against Washington, Wednesday against Memphis, Friday against Denver, and then Sunday against Boston, and Tuesday against Cleveland. All here at Moda Center, so plenty of chances to watch your Trailblazers on this homestand. It's a beautiful one. Take advantage of this Toronto and Washington game, though, because, man, the 4 games to close that out, again, Memphis, Denver, Boston, Cleveland, that is going to be tough with a capital T. All right, can the Blazers get the job done against Toronto tonight? It's time to look at the stats and figure it out. It's time for our keys to the game. You know, I think it's really rude that Michael Shacker recorded my car starting for that segment. That little is it gonna start or not? He had to use real audio from my car for that. That's terrible. That's terrible. All right, what do the Blazers have to do to win tonight against the Toronto Raptors? Coach Billups did call the Toronto Raptors, they're a carbon copy of us, and they're our young team. They're trying to figure their way out. They've won 3 games in a row, but think of the 3 games that they've won. Those games have been against Washington, Philadelphia, and Utah. 3 pretty bad teams, right? Teams that are in the standings here in the Cooper flag race, the lottery race, as it were. So these are the games that if you're on Team Tank, you argue that it's absolutely beneficial if you go and you lose this game because it's going to help you in the Tankathon standings. I'm not one of those guys. You guys know that about me. I am very much so win whatever game you can, put your best effort out there. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. I'm not worried about the lottery in the least. I think it's all going to balance itself out in the end. Portland has lost 5 in a row. Toronto has won 3 in a row. And Portland still has a chance there at that 7 seed, 8 seed going into the draft. Don't think you're going to go too much higher than that, but just look at this. Like, realistically, win or lose to Toronto, I just don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference in the long run. You are tied to or right behind them right now, Toronto, that is. They have 9 games back overall, Portland 13. So, again, you might pick up a game, but it's more like Portland, Chicago battling out. San Antonio is the team to watch because jumping from 8 to 10 can make big difference. I don't know what this one does, though. Again, people are watching, though. People are watching. They say Tankathon's huge. We'll see what happens in the race for Cooper Flag. But enough about the race for the lottery and now what needs to happen for the Blazers to win tonight. That's what we worry about. Well, first off, I'm going to go to that assist number, right? I look at that game against New York, and you look at it, and you're like, hey, they played well. They scored 113 points. They did this. They only had 20 assists. I think you need to get that number up if you're going to want to be competitive in these games. And then you look at Scoot Henderson. Had a great game. He could start tonight if Anthony Simons is not to go, but only had 2 assists. And you need more out of Scoot. So I'm going to watch that assist number. And not only am I going to watch the assist number, I'm going to watch that number that is very, very closely connected to that assist number, and that's the turnover number. You can't turn the ball over against any team, but you look at that game against New York, right? You turn the ball over 23 times against a New York team that forces those and takes advantage of them, right? So don't give Toronto any fuel. They don't need any fuel, right? You can go out there and lock them up a little bit, make them work, and get them off their game. I think if you look at the 2 teams and which one is on their current trajectory is playing with a little more cohesiveness, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it's Portland, right? So get a chance to knock them off, let them wobble, because I don't think they're going to come back from that if you can get them there early, right? So assists and turnovers are the big ones for me in this one. Then, again, the turnovers, man, there's just no reason to go out there and give this team free shots and free extra possessions, right? Just don't do it. Now, if you're the Blazers, also keep in mind that Toronto does not shoot the three ball a ton. They average just 33.2 attempts per game, which is the second fewest in the NBA. When they do make the ones that they take, they only shoot 34.9%, which is, bottom 10 in the league as well. So they're not a great three-point shooting team, and they don't take a ton of attempts either. I think if you can almost clog the paint a little bit, use Donovan Clingan to your advantage, and force a bad three-point shooting team to take a little bit more three-pointers than they like to take comfortably, it might get their offense just a little out of rhythm as well. So those are things I'm going to watch in this one. And then, of course, if Matisse Thybulle gets in this game, how does he look defensively? I don't necessarily think he's a key to the win or the loss, but he might be very, very key to just what the team decides to do moving forward, right? I want to see him on the floor. I'm very hyped to see him on the floor. Coach said you're probably either going to see him tonight or tomorrow, hopefully both, right? So hopefully he makes his return tonight for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, a little bit more on these standings real quick before we get out of here, and the Tankathon standings. So when you look at Tankathon right now, Utah and Washington are in the race for number one. Washington now a half game back of Utah. Utah at 15 and 52. Washington at 15 and 51. Charlotte coming in the 3 spot, and New Orleans at the 4 spot. Now those 4 teams are kind of in the race for number one. Again, Utah and Washington just a half game back. Charlotte and New Orleans 2.5 back from Utah, right? So mathematically, they're all still in that race for number one. Then you get the big jump. You get to Brooklyn, Philly, and Toronto, who are 7, 8, and 9 games back respectively. Okay, and then you get into the next tier where you have Portland, Chicago, San Antonio, and Miami, who those 4 games are 13, 13, 13.5, and 14 games back respectively, right? So Portland can still separate themselves win and loss wise, right, from Chicago, San Antonio, and Miami. But even if you took a loss to Toronto tonight, catching that ground and getting all the way up to 7-6 or even 5 is going to be absolutely tough to do. Like, you're going to have to probably lose the next 12 realistically to have that chance. Chris, but if you lose 12, but the other teams are going to lose too, right? And they're going to find a couple wins there. The thing is, I think you're Portland. I think, mathematically, I think about the highest you can get might end up being this 8 spot. So you're going to have to do a lot of finagling throughout the rest of the schedule as well. But that is for the team who's on Team Tank. That's not me. That's not me. I'm not on Team Tank. I'm on Team Win. And hopefully the team can get that win tonight. All right. I think we're going to get out of here. It's about time to go. The clock is almost up. But don't go anywhere, because coming up next, Chad Doing will have the Trailblazers pregame show across the Trailblazers audio network. And then 3 o'clock tip-off, your radio voice of the Blazers, Travis Demers, takes over. Blazers, Raptors, all right here on Rip City Radio. And, of course, when it's all said and done, keep it locked in, because we'll have the 5th quarter where hopefully we're breaking down a Trailblazers victory. Once again, Blazers, Raptors, tip-off at 3 p.m. all right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio. Rip City, I'll talk to you after the game.